This video is made possible by the EA Creator Network. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is a full comprehensive guide on how armors work in Apex Legends, crazy to say, Season 20. Now, already right off the rip, their name is kind of already changed. It's called a Shield Core. This is very, very important to highlight, and I really want this to sink in that they're called Shield Cores, and there's a very important reason. Now, overcharge will decay, so we'll cover what that means as well. I'm going to break everything down. Let's talk about the first and most important thing right off the rip. Armors are not on the floor anymore. There are no armors on the floor. Okay, let's repeat that again. There's no armors on the floor. Now, I know that's probably a really hard thing to understand of what that means. And even if you were to pick up an armor from a death box, let's say this was a death box right here. I'm going to showcase it to you so you understand that armors on the ground don't work the way they used to. Let's say we picked up a purple. Look how my armor has been augmented. This is in line with how the tree progression works. Think of your tree progression as your armor, and your armor is your tree progression. So the more damage you do, and the more things you do in the world, the more you're going to level up your armor. But you can indeed pick up an armor and overcharge it for a temporary amount of time. You see how that armor is about to dissipate? Let's take a look here once it goes away. It's fascinating because it means you're not meant to be at this level quite yet. But you can level this up by doing damage. Let's cover those things of what you can do and list them on screen. As this is depleting, you see it's depleting and going away. You can do damage, and that's why I have the EVO 8 to do significant damage. You'll see the damage, ready? Boom. So if you want to level up by doing damage, this is a great way to do it. Now, the other one is by scanning beacons or hitting consoles. So if you're a recon class or if you're a controller class, you can also do it by reviving your teammates. You can also do it by squad wipes. You can hit them by with supply bins, the support bins. You can do by much more. One of the most important ones that also gain you a lot of points are the harvester areas that get you like 400 points. Now, if you find them as well, I found this really hard to find. Keep in mind we're in a test build. Are the EVO caches. The EVO caches give you points, boom, and level you up. Now on the bottom left, I want you to highlight this here. Notice how your armor is leveling up whenever you do, which is really cool. I think that's really exciting that happens. Now let's give an example. Now, on the next thing that's really important to highlight, I'm going to throw a grenade at myself here, and I'm going to swap to a white armor. Let's say I find a white armor on a box, okay? I get cracked, I take some flesh, and we're going to swap over to a white. Let's say somebody has your white armor, right? Well, now you still have blue, so technically, I got rid of my other core. Remember, it's not armors. We gotta get. This is going to be really hard for me even to get rid of this mindset and trade it out, where they're cores. The cores are depleted, so therefore the core that you have is replaced, but your overall capacity of what you have based on the experience that you have has changed. So let's go to upgrade to the skill tree. If you want to know all the skill trees, I have a separate full guide on it, okay? For every single legend. So right now, the best way to do it is by doing damage. So I'm going to highlight just by doing damage. The gold ones give you a lot of points, okay? Let's go ahead and hit that one. So you saw one of them that got points. 1,900. It's a crazy amount of points. So you level this up. Boom, you're upgraded. So let's go ahead and finish this up. Another one. Let's showcase again when we get a red what that looks like. Right? Let's say again the same scenario. I really want to hammer this point home and how these armors work. Because there's an overshield. See how it overshield and overhealed, right? That disappears once you take damage. So I wanted to highlight that there. Now let's say you pick up a blue armor, right? It's hard to switch. Pick up a blue core. You can still heal it up. You never lose. You never lose. This is a brilliant system. If you are a solo queue player, if you want to keep the momentum going from fight to fight, this is a brilliant solution. I think this is an elegant solution. The armors on the ground clears up the loot table. If you drop hot, even if somebody were to get, you know, a golden cache, which I barely saw any of these, and let's say they were to hit a beacon and then they did some damage, the best that they could get is blue. Okay, the best that they could get is blue. I repeat that. That's the best that they got. And now it evens the playing field because you wouldn't have to drop off against somebody who's got purple versus you on white. So it kind of balances out at the start. Now this means that other legends are a lot stronger at the start if nobody does damage. But don't worry, you don't have to do damage. As a reminder, you can do world things. You can hit the harvesters. They're really easy. I'm gonna overlay it here on the screen. And when you get squad wipes, whenever you res your teammates, when you do things that are team oriented, you don't even have to do any damage. You can get out of an area with purple armor, and it happens pretty quick. And the leveling up is pretty efficient. So I want to make sure you understand that. So armor swaps, remember they're cores, you're just replacing the core. You can drop down a core. But remember, if you don't have a core equipped, look, you can't heal. So don't drop your core. That's very, very important. If you drop your core, I mean, you're kind of screwed, you know? Like, just don't drop your core. It's kind of important. You can drop your core for others, right? But remember what that means and what that does, and that it'll deplete over time. So if you're going to drop your core for somebody, sure, you can drop your armor for somebody still. But just remember, you need to go find yourself a core. Otherwise, you can't do anything. There's nothing here. Now, this could be a test range thing. You know, keep in mind, we have a little bit of time to play, but that's my understanding of it. If that changes, somebody will comment down below, and I'll be sure to do an updated video, and I'll do an updated guide. Now, remember, let's do a quick recap. Once you're at this level, and of course you have a core, you are permanently at that level. Always, all right? Your progression is tied to your progression on your skill tree, all right? So it's important that you do damage. You don't have to do damage, though. There's many different ways that you can do damage to find success with this. What we're going to do is I'm going to showcase an example in game. I'm going to overlay it. I'm going to talk through just a drop and what that looks like so you can see how it works in a real world environment. And also you can see that the loophole is also very much cleaned up. This also goes to the new mode where it's straight shot. I like how it's more simplistic, but it's elegant, removing some of the random number generation of BS that you kind of run to right off drop, and I just think it's fantastic. So let's cut to that now. What we're going to do is I'm going to commentate over a drop, and you're going to see how it levels up and how it feels. One with a hot drop doing damage, one by just passively running around doing nothing. So let's break that down. Now, in this example, I was utilizing an R301, but I want to highlight for all of you guys what it looks like when you fight off rip, as well as how fast your armors do level. I know the number of 600 EVO can be a little daunting and overwhelming, but your damage does ramp up, as well as when you get knocks, and you get the squad wipe at the end. You see there's 100. Look, I'm already at 350 EVO, just because the points and how they flow. This was a pretty well thought out system, because it really felt, I guess you could say, intuitive. It didn't feel overwhelming. It didn't feel overtuned or underbalanced. It was very carefully thought out, and I appreciated that. So once this wipe does happen, you're going to see once you play aggro, even though I didn't do any damage to the last person, how close I am. And the armor core is an example. I'm only 92 points off. Now, this was great because I'm already almost at blue right off the rip after a squad wipe, and how fast it was. There's other things that I can do to garner these points, and what we're going to do is skip ahead to that. Now, it's not always just about doing damage. Even as you're on rotation and gathering resources, what you're going to see here is that those EVO harvesters are pretty huge. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to see it in just a second here pop up. My teammate grabbed one. I showcased this example in another video, but I really, really wanted to highlight it here of how quickly you garner the experience and level up. And we'll showcase now. I'm going to segue to a little bit more damage at range with the R301 and see those points kind of skyrocket. Okay, so you see in the background there, you just saw my Newcastle grab those EVO harvesters again. You saw it was like a little yellow thing. So we're going to back up real quick and we're going to take a look at that. I'm looting. You can see the Newcastle in the distance here. Moving towards it. There it is, see? Boom. And then we garner those points. 400. Now, these are in these general areas, and they're all team-wide, and they make such a massive difference to where you don't necessarily always have to do damage, and there's a lot of other things that you can do. Here's another example of the crafter. Just wanted to highlight that for all of you guys of how quick it is. I didn't realize how quick it was again, and so I was kind of moving around thinking it was going to take a little longer. It doesn't. It's pretty much instantaneous. Let's take a look at the fight here. Now, just to kind of highlight this damage and what it looks like, the R301 is really strong at the moment. All that damage already counts towards it, which is really nice. Now, you'll notice that the damage on knocks doesn't. But if you get an assist, it counts for 75 as well. So I just want to point that out because you're probably thinking, well, I can just farm the EVO damage on knocks. It doesn't actually work like that, which I think is pretty important to highlight because I don't think I mentioned that earlier. But I think it's better just to kind of see it in real time. And then boom, right here, the squad wipe happens and you get a little bit extra points. So boom, it happens relatively quick and it's really smooth. We might as well, what we're going to do is I'll overlay the rest of this footage later on in another video. Now let's segue to what happens if you have a really slow drop and how that momentum can be gained. So we're going to highlight as an example of a slow drop. So let's say you don't land with anybody nearby. It's very safe. How can you garner points? Let's highlight that. Now it's really important that you have your teammates fill out the role, whether it's hitting a beacon, whether it's hitting a console, whether it's hitting a perk bin, because all these points do add up. Once I hit this, you'll notice it'll go up 200. My teammates miss a supply bin here, which means that we're not going to gain those points. This is not even a full lobby. I want to point that out. This was very much a test run
of how a lobby kind of plays out and us kind of really getting to explore the changes themselves. But you'll notice now we only need 400 more EVO. Now what I can do now is also hit the console, and I can do this because Vantage actually has this perk, and as well as Watson. So Watson hit it, and so there we go. So now we're only 200 points away, which can level up pretty quick. And when you're in a fight, remember, if you don't take damage, then that does heal up for the next part. So we're going to do showcase what happens when we get into an encounter now, and how fast that leveling process did work. Now what you're going to notice here, I was told to be very nice because the players that I'm playing against are not very good. And so you'll notice that I'm trying to be kind, if you will. But I want to showcase how these level up and how it feels. Now, let's not knock the players I'm playing against. They're not necessarily the best, and that's perfectly fine. What we're going to do is you're going to see what I'm talking about in just a moment, but I want to really highlight it. Also on the minimap, you'll see there, those were the yellow EVO harvesters, and those are great rotational spots as you rotate because they really help with your armors. When my teammate gets in it, I hold for him, hold this cross. They decide to over peek, and once I get a knock, I don't finish them and I let them reset just because, you know, hey, I'm trying to be a little nice. So we move up here. Let's take a look at the cross that I had. It kind of just took the damage, but you see how the points level up? I'm only 38 away from blue at this point. And I try to be nice. I stopped, oh gosh, I went a little overboard there. But you'll see later where I'm a little more generous with it. And then I also hit the console in the zone. And you'll see throughout the footage and gameplay that I've showcased this several times, but you know, it's more important that we really highlight it. I gain access to hit ring consoles where I can hit the other one where I get more bullets. So the team is still here. I let them res. We already have the current map knowledge. This is where you'll notice that I'm being a little overly nice. I mean, I do a little bit of damage, but I just kind of want to highlight. I think it's a little funny. It's endearing, I guess you could say. Okay, I stop. I purposely stopped because I was like, oh gosh, I've done too much. And then my teammates threw the grenade and finished them off. So that was great.